Ever find yourself just wading through the headache of finding good hunting land? Feels like the really accessible spots are, well, harder and harder to come by. Or maybe you're on the other side. You own some land you know could be doing more for you, maybe bringing in some income, being more secure, but you're just not sure how to make that happen. It's a real challenge, isn't it? Balancing that passion for the hunt with, the practical side of accessing land and managing it smartly these days. So today we're taking a deep dive into hunting land leases. Our mission really is to unpack how a certain kind of setup, using a company like Base Camp Leasing as an example, sort of connects landowners and hunters. We want to explore how this kind of approach doesn't just make things easier, but actually offers, well, a pretty solid solution to those problems of access and really using land effectively.
Yeah, and it's important to get a sense of the scale here. I mean, this isn't some tiny niche issue. Think about this. 60% of all land in the U.S., privately owned.
60%, wow.
Yeah, it's huge. We're talking 1.3 billion acres. And of that, roughly 63% is farms and ranches. Another 32% is forest land. So understanding how something like organized leasing works, it's not just about hunting. It's pretty central to land use, conservation, even the economics for a massive amount of the country.
That really puts it in perspective. Okay, so let's dig into that. Why has it gotten so tough to find good hunting spots? It definitely feels like just asking around isn't quite the reliable method it used to be.
You hit the nail on the head. With so much land in private hands, you naturally need some kind of structured way to access it. Plus, things change. Land values go up, rural areas shift, and that old handshake deal, it's becoming less common, maybe less secure for both the hunter and the landowner. So leasing has really stepped in as this more formal, more reliable solution. It's a contract, a managed relationship, not just asking for permission. It's kind of like a mini economy built around accessing that private land, bringing some order to it all.
Right. Moving from informal to formal.
Hmm.
Now, our sources often point to Base Camp Leasing, calling it the best hunting lease company in America, a leader in the field. That's a pretty bold claim. What exactly are they basing that on? What makes them stand out, according to what we've seen?
That's a fair question. And the sources break it down into a few key areas. First off, it's their proven reputation. I mean, they've been doing this for 25 years, quarter century. You learn a lot in that time, right? They've apparently really refined, maybe even perfected the whole leasing process. They act as that efficient middleman, taking the stress out of it for both sides. We actually heard from a landowner in Kentucky who said, and this is a direct quote, "We were very pleased with our experience. Our leasing agent was knowledgeable and very responsive. Our farm leased within hours of being placed on the public website. We could not be happier." That says a lot about efficiency.
Within hours. That's incredible speed for leasing out a farm.
It really is, and that speed, well, it's partly down to their widespread coverage area. They're operating in 34 states now, mostly concentrated in the Northeast, Southeast, and Midwest, but still, that's a huge footprint, wider reach than most other agencies, apparently.
Okay, so broad reach means more options, more connections.
Exactly, which leads straight to the third point. The sheer amount of increased land open to hunting. Get this, through their work, they've helped open up access to 6.5 million total acres.
6.5 million.
Million acres, yeah. To give you an idea, that's roughly the size of Maryland. Just boom, opened for hunting access through their system. It provides a huge amount of territory. We heard from Scott, a hunter in Ohio, who mentioned Base Camp gives the fantastic opportunity to find great hunting properties. He also said, and the hunting is great as well. I have harvested a good buck 3 out of 4 years with a Base Camp lease. That consistency, that exclusivity, that's what hunters are often looking for.
Wow, 6.5 million acres. And stories like Scott's harvesting good bucks consistently. That's definitely appealing for hunters struggling to find spots.
Yeah.
What about the flip side? The landowners. What's in it for them financially?
Oh, yes, that's the fourth major point. Big opportunities for landowners. The numbers are pretty striking. Our sources say Base Camp Leasing has facilitated over $80 million in total payments to landowners.
80 million.
And on average, they say a landowner can expect to generate somewhere between $17,000 and $25,000 over a 5-year lease period. Wow. That's significant income, especially for rural landowners. We saw a quote from Jeff, an Illinois landowner, who called his experience excellent. He talked about collaborating and leasing with quality hunters while offering a rewarding outcome for all parties. So it's not just income. It's about that structured relationship, that managed access we talked about.
Finding quality hunters seems key there, making it a win-win.
Precisely. And that ties into the final point. Killer opportunities for the hunters themselves. Over 150,000 hunters have found spots through them. And the satisfaction rate is apparently really high, something like 98%.
98% happy. That's impressive.
It is. And it seems to boil down to a few core benefits for the hunter. The lease usually runs 365 days unless it specifically says otherwise. You get 100% exclusive access, no competing with strangers, and crucially, you get the first right of renewal. You find a spot you love, you get first crack at keeping it next year. There was a great story from Ty, a hunter in Michigan. He said, "My father and I have at least the same 60-acre property since 2004. Imagine that consistency."
He tells in 4. Wow.
Yeah. And he added, "The landowner has been great and has even mowed paths for us and allowed us to plant a food plot. It's great knowing we'll always have some place to hunt that is only 15 minutes from where we live." That kind of stability in relationship, that's gold for a hunter.
Definitely. That long-term access, exclusivity, even collaborating with the landowner on improvements like food plots, it really changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pivot a bit. So, if you, our listener, own land that might work for hunting, what are the big reasons beyond that direct income we just talked about why you might leverage your property this way?
Right. The motivations go beyond just the check. A really big one today is mitigating costs. Let's face it, owning land isn't getting cheaper. You've got rising prices per acre, interest rates have been, well, climbing, maintenance costs money, property taxes seem to only go up. Leasing provides a steady income stream that can directly help offset those climbing expenses. Makes owning the land more sustainable financially.
Okay, that makes practical sense. What else?
Well, there's also property utilization. Very few properties, farms, or forests are like 100% used for just one thing. You often have tracts of land or parts of a larger property that are really only suitable for hunting or recreation. And especially with farmland, there can be this really interesting symbiotic relationship.
Symbiotic, how so?
Well, hunters managing the deer population, for example, can actually reduce crop damage from wildlife. So the farmer benefits from less crop depredation in addition to the lease payment. It's a neat integration.
That is interesting. So the hunters can almost be seen as helping manage the land in a way?
In a sense, yes. And that ties into another key benefit: enhanced security and reduced liability. Think about it. Without a formal lease, a landowner might be dealing with multiple people asking for permission, maybe finding signs of trespassing. It can be a hassle. A formal lease puts known, vetted, trustworthy hunters on the property. Their presence alone can deter others from sneaking on, and Base Camp Leasing specifically provides a really solid hunting lease agreement designed to cover the legal bases. Plus, and this is huge, $5 million worth of insurance coverage.
$5 million in liability coverage. That's serious peace of mind.
Absolutely. It takes a major worry off the landowner's plate. We heard from Dan, a landowner in Kansas, who basically said the whole thing was carefree for him. The money was nice, sure, but he really just wanted someone responsible to enjoy the hunting, and the system made it easy and safe.
Sounds like they've really thought through the landowner's concerns. And the process itself, from what our sources say, seems incredibly streamlined, like 10 steps from filling out a form online to getting paid. Very straightforward. Okay, so we've covered the landowner angle pretty well. Let's flip the coin again. If you're a hunter listening to this, how does a service like Base Camp Leasing change that often painful search for the perfect hunting spot? That quest that can feel endless sometime.
Oh, it fundamentally changes the game. It basically takes most of the really hard, often frustrating work out of it. Instead of you having to make cold calls, knock on doors, just hoping to stumble upon one landowner who might be willing to lease, Base Camp aggregates them. They bring a whole bunch of willing landowners and available properties right to you, all in one place. It's a marketplace, essentially. Access and opportunity, minus the legwork and guesswork.
That convenience factor sounds enormous. Okay, so that leads to the obvious question. How does a hunter actually get access to these listings? Is it just open season, or is there a structure?
Good question. No, it's not just wide open. They have different membership levels, basically tiers, that give hunters different levels of early access to the new leases when they drop. So at the top, you've got the wall hanger membership. That's $20.75 a month, and you see the brand new leases first the moment they're posted.
Okay, first level.
Then there's the 8-point level. That's $5.75 a month. They get access 7 days after the wall hangers see them.
A week later. Got it.
Next down is Fork Horn, $2.42 a month. They see the leases 1 day after the 8-point members. And finally, there's a free option, too. You can still see leases, but you're last in line after all the paid tiers have had their shot.
So, a tiered system rewarding the paid members with earlier looks. When do these new leases actually appear?
They have a set schedule. New properties go live for those wall hanger members every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Central Time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern. And you need to be ready because the demand is real. They apparently have more than 80,000 subscribing hunters in their system.
80,000 hunters, wow.
Yeah, so the good properties, especially in desirable areas, can get snapped up fast. Deposits can be placed, like, within minutes of posting sometimes. We heard from John, a hunter in New York, who really summed up the value. He said he had hunted various places for 10 years, often struggling with public land or limited options. Then he said, "Last year, we joined the Base Camp Leasing family, and it has been probably the best choice I have made for hunting." He mentioned the agent was helpful, the process easy. It just worked for him.
That definitely underscores the appeal, especially if you've dealt with the frustrations of finding spots year after year. And like for landowners, the process for hunters seems pretty clear-cut, maybe 10 steps from picking a membership to hopefully having a great season. But you got to be quick. Okay, so for anyone listening, whether you're thinking about leasing out your land or finding a lease yourself, what are the really crucial things you need to think about before you jump in? What's the essential due diligence?
Yeah, that's super important for both sides. Let's start with landowner considerations. First, a big one, family and friend commitments. You need to be crystal clear that if you enroll your property with Base Camp Leasing, you, your family, your friends, nobody associated with you can hunt that specific property. It's exclusively for the lessee.
Okay, that's a really important boundary to understand up front.
Definitely. Then think about property location. Location drives value. A lease in, say, prime Ohio deer country is likely going to command a much higher price than maybe a similar-sized property in parts of South Carolina, just based on demand. Land quality is obviously huge. What's the deer density like? Is there a good age structure for bucks? What's the habitat, food, cover, water? All that impacts value. Also, tract size and, importantly, the huntable acreage percentage. A huge property isn't much good if only a small fraction is actually suitable for hunting.
Right, the usable part.
Exactly. Consider neighboring land and landowners, too. Is the property next door heavily hunted? Are there issues with neighbors trespassing? That can affect your lease's appeal. And finally, those liability concerns we mentioned, which, again, the good news is the structured lease agreement and that hefty $5 million insurance policy are designed specifically to address that.
Makes sense. A solid checklist for landowners thinking about it.
Yeah.
Now, what about for the hunters? What should be on their checklist when evaluating a potential lease?
Okay, for hunters, the list is a bit different, but just as important. Number 1, available budget. Be honest with yourself about what you can comfortably afford. Don't stretch so thin it becomes stressful. 2, reasonable lease expectations. Don't lease a property expecting to shoot a record book buck the first year if the area isn't known for it. Understand the potential, manage your expectations. State of interest if you're traveling. Pick a state that aligns with your hunting goals, whether it's specific species, trophy potential, or just opportunity. Think about property proximity. Interestingly, sometimes a lease right next to an unhuntable area like a park, preserve, or even suburban sprawl can be great. Deer often use those areas as sanctuaries and filter onto the lease.
The edge effect. Good point.
Yep. Then look at property features. Does it have the key ingredients? Food sources, good bedding cover, water. Is the habitat diverse? Access quality is critical and sometimes overlooked. How easy is it to get to your stand locations without spooking every deer on the property? Bad access can ruin a great spot.
So true. Sneaking in and out undetected.
Exactly. Also, think about hunting partners. Are you leasing solo or sharing? If sharing, make sure you're compatible and agree on rules and costs up front. And lastly, for hunters too, liability concerns. But just like for landowners, the formal lease agreement and the insurance provided through Base Camp Leasing cover this, giving you protection while you're out there.
This has been really illuminating. It's clear that a service like Base Camp Leasing represents a very modern and efficient way to tackle these long-standing issues for both landowners and hunters. It connects needs with opportunities.
It really does. What I find fascinating is how creating this kind of structured marketplace unlocks value and access that might just sit there, unused or underused otherwise. It brings order and security to a process that used to be pretty informal, sometimes uncertain. It's definitely a significant step in how private land gets used for recreation.
So if you're listening and you own rural land, maybe thinking it could be doing more for you, or if you're a hunter just tired of that yearly scramble for a decent, reliable spot, well, the rise of professional hunting lease agencies like Base Camp Leasing is definitely offering a compelling, modern path forward. And it kind of makes you think, doesn't it? The model, this idea of shared access facilitated by professional management, especially on private land. Could something like this work for other types of outdoor activities? other ways we use and interact with these valuable landscapes beyond just hunting? Something to ponder.